if you're an AI developer, if you're an AI agency owner, if maybe you have a business partner and you're overall just going after the market that is right now growing to be bigger and bigger in terms of just selling AI to medium and small sized businesses or some sort of AI solutions that are generating value, you're competing with other like entities in the market and species, so to speak, for the same scarce resources, which is your client's money. And obviously, if you play tactically and if you strategically pick your like advantages, obviously, then you are more likely to win more resources, which is just a game of business. And in this video, I'm going to show you what, in my opinion, can be a significant advantage for AI developers, AI agency owners, and how you can leverage old money, pretty much wisdom, and apply them to our industry because there is a lot of advantage to be made. And let me tell you why I believe there is significant advantage to be made. So here's the thing. You're probably aware, like I am, that a lot of our competitors and a lot of people who are in this AI market where they just go after a certain group of people and they try to pitch them an AI and they try to just, sell them AI solutions. A lot of them are living in this illusion that somehow this is different, like somehow right now, because we have very new tech in the form of large language models and AI, we are somehow different and the laws of physics, laws of business, they don't apply. You probably have seen people like that in the industry where they are just so focused on this shiny object, which is AI, that they forget the basic, just pretty much business things that are still applying the basic business laws. So there is a lot of advantage to be made if you are going to learn that there are people who are not so yeah, just businessly developed, so to speak. I'm not saying that I am, but based on the words of people who you see it as good as actually one person who's a bill leader. I mean, unfortunately, he has passed away some time ago. Based on his like opinion and reasoning, a lot of our industry is very like immature in terms of business because they forget basic laws that are still applying. So the point of this video is I want to show you where you can get advantage as an AI developer, AI agency owner, if you want to just win with your market. Because if you just apply the basic business laws and principles and things like that, you're going to be able to just take on more, yeah, more advantages on your side, and that's always great. So I'm going to read you three quotes that you see here. So first of all, they're all from Charlie Munger. If you don't know who Charlie Munger is, he was a very, very talented like investor and business person. He was Warren Buffett business partner, so one of the like if right now not, but some time ago, one of the richest people in the planet, and he was his business partner. So I think it's quite reasonable to say that he knew something about business and investing. So I think it's quite great to study from people who are billionaires. And as you see, yeah, he achieved a lot of in his life, and he's also teaching a lot in his life. So the first quote from Charlie Munger is, "It wasn't at all that hard for me to pick up all the big ideas from all the big disciplines and make them standard part of my mental routines." I'm going to read through those three quotes and I'm going to make my point. So another one is, "You've got to have models in your head and you've got to array your experience, both the and direct, onto this lightless work of mental models," Charlie Munger. And another and last quote, which is, "Spent each day trying to get a little wiser than you were when you woke up," another Charlie Munger quote. So the whole point of Charlie Munger and big thing that he was really on is something that we call essentially mental models. So he was very big on mental models, and I'm going to explain to you what mental models are in a second. It's actually a very simple to grasp concept. And like once you like understand it and you are actually going to properly apply it, you can become a weapon because you will just simply see what other people are not seeing. So as you see, he was here mentioning disciplines. He was making part of my mental routines. He was here mentioning lattice work and mental models right here. And here he was just getting the point of getting a little wiser. So let me just quickly explain to you what a mental model is and how you can use it as your business advantage. So here, first, let's just start with some first principles. So as you obviously know, between where you are right now and where you want to be, which is probably some economical monetary state where you just have some money and you are just more happy perhaps, and you use the vehicle of like an AI automation agency, which is a fancy term of just selling AI to businesses to solve their problems. And here you just in a different state. And between your version 1 here and your version 2 here, there's just a lot of decisions, right? Let's say this is a decision number 1, 2, 3, and probably like thousands of micro and macro decision that lead you to finally achieving your goal. So here's the thing. every single decision is made based on your understanding. So let's say, just for the sake of simplicity, you just walk, right? And you see two roads leading somewhere else. And let's say there are two people who are about to make the decision, and there's a person one and the person two. And let's just say that the person one is a very experienced like travel agent and he knows everything about the mountains. And let's say he can just, I'm just completely making some things up. So there are people who know something about geography and just natural world, like a bit more in terms of like hiking and everything. Please forgive me for the yeah, what we're just about to hear. But let's just say the person number one sees, I don't know, certain types of trees, right? And they see like certain types of trees and some mountains in the background. And here they see a different type of trees. Probably all the people that know geography and biology in terms of like environments are probably right now disappointed with my lack of intellectual understanding of those fields. But let's just say there are two different paths, and those two different paths have different sort of environments. And this person is like, oh, I actually know what this path means, and I know what those trees are representing and what this mountain is representing, and I know what those are representing. So he has more accurate understanding of reality. So he's way more adapted to just the environment, and he can pick a better choice and probably just end up in a happy place. And the person number two, which let's say is somebody like me, who has no idea on hiking and no idea on traveling and no idea on nothing, will just have a look at. They would be like, all right, no idea what to do. Let's just do a coin flip and let's walk here. And let's just say this road is leading to some very dangerous environment and you would die, and the other road would be leading to like a great place. So both of those people made their decision on the understanding of what is in front of them and their understanding of reality. So I think you can start to see where I'm going with this. So as you see, if our like success is just a determination of the amount of decisions we are going to make and where we are going to go with those decisions, it would be very helpful to improve our decision-making capabilities because obviously if we are going to improve our decision-making process and we are more times right than we are wrong, and if we are many times right, then we're just going to eventually end up where we want to be, right? So here's how in Charlie Munger's teaching how you can improve your decision making and how you can actually use it as an advantage in the market, because very few people are actually going to do it. I'm already building this process right now myself, and I can tell it's very like unpleasant and not fun, so it's not going to be very nice to do. So look, essentially how it works is, imagine that you have so right now let's just go to the concept of mental models, because mental models are what are going to act as sort of like direction in our decision-making process and how they're going to guide us. So let me explain to you in a very, very brief example what a mental model is. So let's say you have, because Charlie Munger is talking about disciplines and mental models from those disciplines. So let's just say we have a discipline of physics, right? And this is a discipline which is a probably familiar one to you. And there is a lot of laws, principles, and explanation of a physical world. This is pretty much the science that is just explaining the world around us and the world that is the physical world around us. And in physics, one of the most basic things is the concept of gravity. Right? And without getting into the like whole explanation and everything, you don't need to do. So here's the thing. If you understand the concept of gravity, right? So if you will just understand the very, very basic understanding of physics in terms of the concept of gravity, pretty much that larger objects are attracting and pulling smaller objects. Of course, it's a very oversimplified explanation, so the people that are into physics, please don't kill me. So look, in accordance with that objective, like law of our universe in reality, let's just say you are standing on the top of a very tall building. And this is going to be a very, very simple explanation, but I promise it makes sense. So let's just say you're standing in front of a building and you have another building, and let's say between those two buildings, there is like 10-meter difference, right? And you're thinking to yourself, well, perhaps I could just jump across those two buildings. Maybe I could make it. The person that is equipped with the mental model of gravity, which is probably the force of gravity will pull me down and I'm probably going to die, is more likely to make a rational decision instead of a irrational decision, and rational is just in accordance with objective reality, in my opinion. So let's say that person knows the mental model of gravity and they will not jump, so they will survive. And the person that for some reason has yet never observed the beautiful force of gravity in our universe. Let's say they have no clue about the force of gravity and they're just going to jump. They're probably going to be faced with the brutal reality of the law of gravity, and they're probably going to die. So why did I make this example, which is probably like very basic, and you're probably thinking to yourself like, well, yeah, duh, but what does that have to do with our businesses? So look, if you are running an AI agency, right? If you're running the agency in terms of like selling AI to local businesses, you're pretty much just running a business, right? And you may be wondering, what does that have to do with gravity and people jumping out of the buildings? Hopefully, I'm not going to get, like, I don't know, some algorithm issues, but nevertheless, look, like a very first principles, business is just providing value, right? So business, especially those ethical ones, can just be explained as value. Oh, I cannot spell value. How big of a shame that is. So let's just say, for the sake of our businesses, most businesses are just providing some sort of value to businesses, and that's how we generate money. So if you think like, if you were to ask like, what is even business? Like, could you define it? Like, yeah, you're providing value, but that's not very first principle understanding. Like, yeah, but what is value? Well, you could say that it's just pretty much problems that are being solved. But what is that? Like, what is even like what is problems and what is like what is a problem? Is it like some obstacle in terms of like you wanting to, let's say problems is very often like you just want to, oh my God, I'm horrible at drawing. Let's say you want to go somewhere and there's a wall between you and then you want to get to your goal, let's say, which is money, and the problem may be, I don't know, your lack of information as to how to do something or execution. So well, if you're going to follow this logic, sooner or later, you will probably fall into the discipline, which is a fundamental discipline of psychology. You will soon realize that economics and psychology there is a big correlation and big there's a lot of things that are connected together between them. So you will if you just question yourself long enough, you will if you literally just ask why, and then you go down and you ask why again, and then you go down again and you ask why. Sooner or later, you will reach some sort of scientific field if you're going to try to understand business. So I hope you are starting to understand where we are going with this video. So if you want to take a big advantage on just AI agency and other agency owners and just win in the market, what you can do is you can just break down business, right? Into it's like very core fundamental disciplines that are very like pretty much impacting business, because business is a construct. It's more of like a theoretic construct. Like you couldn't really pinpoint to a business. It's just a collection of a lot of things. So let's say here you could just learn very basic principles of like maths. For example, here you could take the mental model of regression, and I will just write here to the mean, right? That was a mental model from math that, if you understand, will help you make better and more accurate decisions in your business. And if you make more accurate and rational decisions in your business, and obviously after a certain amount of time, you will just win. And let's say here you could add, I don't know, economics, right? So I'm just going to write it in the short. So economics, you could here understand supply and demand. Here, supply and demand, for example, would help you perhaps pick a better like automation to sell, right? Then you could go from math to economics to, let's say, well, we could else here at obviously psychology. You could here study like pain pleasure principle. Here you can understand why people make decisions and why they make those decisions, and that can improve your business. And overall, if you just learn basic principles from like fundamental disciplines, just math, economics, psychology, biology, evolutionary biology, statistics, physics, chemistry, and you're just going to extrapolate, like Charlie Munger said in this quote, which is right here, to take big ideas from the big disciplines and make them a standard part of my mental routines. If you're going to stack a lot of ideas from those disciplines, and if you're going to see, let's say this box would like represent reality here, right? Let's say if you're just going to assume this is like this big black box is your, okay, I wouldn't say reality, is your perception of of reality, right? So let's say this is the objective like reality without getting too philosophical. Let's just say this is your, let's just say this is your intellectual paradigm, which is just how you see the world, right? And the thing is, just simply, if you're going to learn those basic sciences and their principles and and understand them, what you'll soon realize and you will soon learn is that those sciences are like every single science at the start will say to you, "Hey, we're explaining something." So let's say the study of psychology will say, "Hey, we're just pretty much measuring and understanding in the scientific approach our like how humans behave, why they behave, and how we can influence that behavior, like what we are actually trying to see and make sense in the reality." Economics will just simply explain that we are just pretty much looking on how people are allocating scarce resources. Let's say physics. So I'm just gonna write P because I don't want to. I'm too lazy to write physics. Perhaps a need for a dopamine deloading. Let's say physics is going to say, hey, we're explaining the natural world, like how things are moving around. And people that are in love with physics will argue that a lot of those disciplines are just an extension of physics. But the point is, if you are going to look at all of those disciplines, they are trying to make sense of reality. So let's just say here, you will, okay, that was not supposed to happen. You gotta forgive me for that. I was just supposed to do this. Let's just say you're mapping out here physics, right? Let's say this gap of reality is called physics. You understand basic laws of physics, so you're not jumping out of a window, right? Let's say here is your economics. Understanding, you just understand how markets are moving. You understand how people are allocating resources. Let's say here you understand biology, and you're starting to make a better sense of reality. And let's say after 3 to 5 years of just constant studying and constant education, you just see reality very, very accurately, and you have obviously there are still blind spots, but you still have just like pretty much you are in one word you are more right. And if you're more than like if you're more often right, the upside of that is that every single decision you're going to make, right? Every single decision is more statistically likely to be correct. And obviously here the decision can only be right or wrong in accordance with our goal. And yeah, if you just stuck it and you just compound it, and if you're going to apply the variable of time here, which is just as time is moving on, if you're making better and better decisions, sooner or later you will reach your goal, right? And sooner or later you will, which is most of the people in the agency space is just talking about is just about monetary gains. So obviously you are going to simply just learn. If you're going to simply learn the disciplines and be right more times, that you're more likely to win with in the long term. And keep in mind, if you just learn it, in my opinion, that's what I'm doing. If you learn it, like man, you're up for a big improvement in your ability to combat with other agency owners. Because keep in mind, other people are just seeing sales and just like NA10 and I don't know, some operations, right? And it's great, but if you don't understand psychology, you don't understand sales. If you don't understand the first principles of like engineering, and if you don't understand first principles of like systems theory, like what are you going to do with NA10? What are you going to do with operations if you don't understand, like let's say the concept of ecosystems, incentives from biology, and all those other things? Like it's good, like you can make some money, but if you're up for like just a domination in the market, then you just need to study them, man. And I think it's going to be, in one simple word, an advantage. So. And that's a horrible way to end the video. That was supposed to be a clean line. So, in one sentence summary, if you, in my opinion, which is what I'm doing, and I'm going to be completely wrong, but I'm just basing my reasoning process out of the knowledge shared by billionaires, so perhaps it's going to be something of an interest to you. If you're just more than less times right, then you're apt for a positive experience because you're going to be able to, in my opinion, make more money because it's just some of the decisions that you make, and the result of them is probably just going to be monetary and economic gains. So hopefully it's going to help you. To all of you that watch me and are here with me on the journey, I'm gonna draw, not write, a smiley face to be positive. Take care. Hopefully it helps.